This is the iPhone 15 Pro. I feel the interest of this phone is going to increase in the next few months simply because it's going to be a better buy than the regular iPhone 16. It's the only old iPhone that's getting Apple Intelligence, and it's going to be affordable since Apple will discontinue it soon. But is it really that good? I daily drive an iPhone 13 Pro, and it's really hard to tell the difference between the 13 Pro and the 15 Pro. Both of these phones perform identically, and that's impressive on the 13 Pro side, which will turn 3 this year. The only telltale sign the 15 Pro has is its design, which I really like. It's still slightly flat like the iPhone 12, 13 and 14, but it has these contoured edges which really help with the in-hand feel. It is thicker than the iPhone 13 Pro, but you don't notice it thanks to the edges. They switched from stainless steel, which we've had since the iPhone 10, to titanium. And that makes the phone lighter, but the phone became a lot weaker. Apple made the phone easier to repair and the back glass breaks easily. Just rock a case, you're good. It still has the basics: MagSafe charging, IP68 rating, great haptics, and great speakers. At first I thought the action button is kinda useless, but with some custom shortcut toggles, it becomes so useful. I have this one where it's a silent toggle when the phone is in portrait and opens the camera when it's in landscape. USB-C, even though I don't like the design of the port, is so useful. I can connect my SD card reader or SSD to off-road footage easily, or finally transfer files at USB 3 speeds. And yes, Android has had this for ages. They made the bezels really thin with the 15 Pro. It almost feels like you're just holding a screen. It's so immersive, so let's talk about the screen. It's one of the best you can find on any phone. Colors are vibrant, accurate, HDR content looks so good on this display. It gets plenty bright outdoors. I honestly have no trouble viewing it outside. It's the exact same display as the 14 Pro. Also, I've not seen anyone talk about this, but 120Hz on the iPhone 14 Pro and 15 Pro feels a lot more smoother. One improvement I would like Apple to make is to reduce reflections, like the S24 Ultra, but that's coming next year with the iPhone 17. Also, I would like 120Hz to come down to regular iPhones. I know a lot of people still fail to notice it, but once you use it, you can never go back. Let's talk about the pill, or dynamic island. I used to think this was a gimmick, but it's very useful for multitasking. I'm glad a lot of apps support it, but hopefully in the future they do reduce the size of it because it's really big. One thing I hate so much about the pill is how it cuts down into 18:9 content. It was not that bad on the iPhone 13 Pro, but it's worse on dynamic island iPhones for some reason. This was being shot on the iPhone 15 Pro, so let's talk about the cameras. The cameras on the 15 Pro are the exact same as the 14 Pro, except the 15 Pro Max gets a 5x telephoto, which I'm not a fan of because there isn't an intermediary optical zoom range. Digital zoom will never replace optical zoom. There are characteristics that can only be achieved with optical zoom. Samsung got it right where they have a 3x lens and a longer periscope lens. And now the 16 Pro is just gonna get the 5x lens with digital zoom filling in the rest. Not great. I thought Apple is gonna adopt a variable zoom lens, but they're just playing the numbers game at this point. So for now, the 15 Pro has the best set of lenses, but how does it perform? The photos are rich in contrast, dynamic range is excellent, it has good amount of detail, night mode is still very good, and the cameras are consistent. Even though both the 14 Pro and 15 Pro share the same set of cameras, Apple did a lot of tweaking to their processing, and they fixed a lot of shortcomings previous iPhones had. One of those processing tricks is how the phone captures depth data for every single photo. So every photo can be turned into a portrait mode photo later on. They also added some extra focal length that you could set as default, but it's still digital zoom. And the new processing pipeline also helps the iPhone to now capture 24 megapixel photos by default. The front camera is excellent, consistent skin tones and sharpness. It performs well in low light too. The one con I really have with this camera system is how Apple claimed they reduced lens flares, but there's still a lot of it, especially on video, so let's talk about video. It's the best video I've seen on any phone, still the best at low light, still the best to start out content creation with. It rivals real cameras, that's how good it is. There are 3 good improvements they've made with video on the 15 Pro. You can finally switch between the lenses on 4K 60, you can record videos to an external drive, and it can shoot ProRes log videos, which removes all the processing the iPhone does to skin tones and dynamic range, so you can color grade it later on. The front camera is pretty good too. Apple even released Final Cut Camera recently, which allows you to get complete control over ISO, shutter speed, and white balance. The iPhone finally lives up to being a pro camera. But you know what else is a pro? A sub to this channel. We're so close to hitting 10K, so do it. The performance is still very good, but the iPhone is no longer the performance champ. It's not the best at raw CPU or GPU performance. But one thing that always gives the iPhone a leg up is optimization. There's a lot of apps that take advantage of the power the 15 Pro has, and one of those areas are ray tracing games. Android has had ray tracing support for about 2 years now, but the iPhone 15 Pro finally pushed game developers to write ray tracing games for the iPhone. There's Assassin's Creed Mirage, Resident Evil, and Genshin Impact that perform so well on the iPhone, but day-to-day tasks perform identically on the 13 Pro and 15 Pro. It's very hard to tell a difference. The only real advantage the 15 Pro has is it can hold multiple apps due to it having 8 gigs of RAM, and that RAM advantage also allows the 15 Pro to be the only iPhone that can now run Apple Intelligence. But I don't get the arbitrary limitation they're throwing at Apple Intelligence. I'm sure they can give some features to the 13 Pro, because the raw performance difference between both these phones are not that far off, and Apple Intelligence relies mostly on the neural engine for on-device tasks. So I tested both the 13 Pro and 15 Pro using Geekbench AI, and they are not that far off. The 15 Pro is a fast phone and I'm not going to deny that, but the iPhone has not had any huge performance increases over the last few years. Here's a graph of the CPU performance over the years, and there's no meaningful jump since the iPhone 13 Pro. It's the same case for the GPU as well. Apple has just been tweaking and overclocking the same A14 core design from the iPhone 12, and that's not really helping it because the iPhone 15 Pro just overheats a lot. That performance headroom just goes away in a few minutes. Everything ends up becoming a laggy mess. The phone goes to 60Hz, the screen becomes pretty dim. It's not great. But signs are pointing towards the A18 being the first significant change since the A14, and I really hope Apple improves its thermals by implementing a vapor chamber. Let's get back to the 15 Pro. Network performance has been pretty similar to older iPhones. It's still good. 5G still cooks this phone. This phone will age well down the line. The iPhone XR is still pushing well all these years, even with iOS 18. I do expect the 15 Pro to perform well too. iOS 18 on the iPhone 15 Pro is pretty good, and it'll probably get software support till iOS 25. I'm being too optimistic. But Apple has been supporting older iPhones for longer lately, so the 15 Pro with all its performance headroom will be fine. The battery life has been pretty good too. I constantly got 10 to 11 hours of screen on time with this phone. This phone will last a whole day, but not longer than that. It's not a battery champ like the 15 Pro Max, but the battery life is plenty good for a lot of people. I thought USB-C will bring fast charging to this phone, but we're still stuck at 27 watts. Hopefully the iPhone 16 will improve in that regard. One improvement they've made with the 15 series is charge limits. So normally charging a phone to 100 and draining it to 0 is not good for its longevity. Sticking to the 80-20 rule, where you charge your phone till 80 and charge it back again once it reaches 20, will wear out the battery less. This feature does help with that. But there is one problem that's been floating around since the iPhone 14 Pro that's also affecting the iPhone 15 Pro. For some reason, the battery health degrades quickly. Mine over here is at 100%, so I'm good. But a lot of people who got it during launch day are at 90% for some reason. I have a feeling Apple started cheaping out on batteries since the iPhone 14, because all of these issues have been around since that phone. Even iPhone 13 users have not hit the 80% mark till now, and that phone is approaching 3 years now. This is something to keep in mind when you get a used iPhone 15. Apple does rate the iPhone 15 series for 1000 charge cycles, so I doubt it'll be a major issue down the line. But should you get the iPhone 15 Pro once the iPhone 16 drops? It really depends. If you get it for around $700 to $800, I would recommend it because it's gonna be a better deal than the regular iPhone 16. Also, I've noticed something. Odd number iPhones are always good. The regular iPhone 16 will still have a 60Hz display. If you really care about a high refresh rate display with support for all of the new Apple Intelligence features, you should get the iPhone 15 Pro. But if you want a phone that'll do anything you throw at it and don't care about the Apple Intelligence stuff, get the iPhone 13 Pro. It is still a very good phone and it goes for around $400. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Any older flagship is still a better option than newer mid-range phones. Watch my iOS 18 review.